Aloha. Finally got it to work. Small miracles. All right. It's been a couple days since I posted anything on here, and just let everybody know my goal is not to record any episodes over the weekend. That's committed family time and rest time, and when we go to church on Sunday. This last weekend, our church actually ran a conference, which was extremely amazing. Definitely got renewed and fed there on how you continue to live in faith, even through trials and struggles. And although I couldn't make it through full days, we got half days in, and we were able to listen to several speakers, which was extremely encouraging. So I encourage you to stay involved in your faith, your church community, because you will find a lot of hope and renewal in that, especially as people pray over you, or you learn from other people who have had similar experiences. Several of the guest speakers have lost spouses, children, battled various forms of cancer, and just the struggles in life that we have. And it's good to know, not that you want people to go through struggles, but that in your walk you're gonna face them. They're part of life, and obviously much better to walk through them with your faith in Christ than to have no hope. So it was amazing, awesome to get prayed for and pray for others as you face challenges, and keep your mind and spirit fixed on God, who's really going to determine the quality and number of your days. But today I wanted to talk through a couple things. I wanted to wait a few days because we started chemo last Thursday, which was the first IV drip form of the drug. I'm taking 2. The other is pills, which I take twice a day for 14 days, and get a kind of gauge of how my reaction was, because obviously every round is going to be different as it builds up in my system. Everybody's different, but I want to at least share kind of how it's impacting my body. And it also tied in well with the fact that as I'm getting further from the toughest surgery, and even the second surgery, how do I re-engage my body without injuring myself within the limitations of the recovery requirements and the healing that needs to happen internally and externally, obviously with the 7 incision points that I have now. With respect to the chemo, just one of the challenges of YouTube is it doesn't let you upload PDF files. But what I have done and will continue to do is inside the post, you'll see AI generated summaries of what I'm getting from medical providers. These are references that they provide on specific drugs. One is the BC Cancer Agency, which is talking through oxaliplatin cold diseases, which is the resistance or the sensitivity to cold in both internally, obviously your fingertips and feet, where you're going to have the neuropathy. And no, I'm not pronouncing these drugs right, I'm sure, but you'll see the summaries in there in the one-pagers. And I'm in the process of creating just links. Obviously, depending on when you're seeing this, some of these references have stood kind of this test of time, most recently being updated as early as or as recently as 2020, 2021. So I'll try to include those references, make sure you know where to go. That way you can go to the most latest stuff. MD Anderson, Mayo Clinic, National Institute of Health are also references to use. I've got both drugs in there as far as symptoms, side effects, and kind of impacts. And then the National Cancer Institute, National Institute of Health, there's a great PDF file that you can download. All these things you can get to, I just can't load them on YouTube. Is chemotherapy and use, supporting people with cancer. Things you need to watch out for. Your doctors, your oncology teams are all going to walk you through that. But I find it helpful to just have those as references for, obviously, Amber and I and the girls. If you're anything like me, side effects, you're not necessarily going to be the first one to identify them, and people need to know so they can help you see yourself, especially as you run the risk potentially of infectious issues that you need to get to the ER for. And then I kind of showed this. This is volume 2 of BIF as I get ready to put it into the notebook. Always have your cards for your oncology teams, your ERs, on-call oncologist. So if you do have problems and questions, they have been more than open to obviously give us a direct line into these folks, be able to discuss medical issues, kind of lower anxiety and stress for sure, and then address them as they come up, because you need to be aware that the Ron Spring that was before is not the same one, and every day is going to be different. So I have to be aware, self-aware, with respect to the cancer and the side effects of these 2 drugs as we balance not only trying to maintain physical health, but I started back to work yesterday at a reduced capacity. It's constantly being honest with yourself, managing your energy, or you're going to end up creating problems or making problems worse, which you obviously don't want to do, because your primary role is to fight cancer. Okay, so from the Army aspect of physical resilience, it's maintaining a strong, durable body to support performance and well-being. They have a couple components: physical fitness, exercise, physical therapy, healthy lifestyle, sleep, nutrition, and exercise. And then they kind of cover over the physical health impact on mental health. So for physical fitness aspects, I mentioned in one of the earlier episodes, obviously, depending on where you're at, I was not symptomatic prior to, so we were able to, thank God, continue to work out up into about 48 hours prior to my first surgery, which is obviously the most impactful, having right colectomy, and having things removed out of my body, and the main point of the cancer. So that, if you can and you have the ability, I would definitely encourage you, not only because it helps you maintain your level of health, but the level of stress was probably the greatest from finding out I had cancer, having your world flipped upside down, and then there's a lot of unknowns as you go through the process of surgery, pathology, staging your cancer, and then really developing the plan of attack to see what can be done next. So all those one day at a time. If you can work in fitness to reduce stress, help maintain your sleep, and allow your body to do its best to fight the cancer, is critical before surgery, after surgery, and as your body heals, and then obviously as you transition to chemo. Because at this point, although I'm 30 days post first surgery, almost 14 days post the implant for my port, my body's trying to heal from both surgeries still. It's trying to fight cancer and adapt to having chemo in it. So it's a daily battle to just keep the energy up and then maintain the immune system, which is a primary focus. Fitness, we started going through that. I was probably overly optimistic and thinking at week 4, after 4 weeks, they said I could start working out again, which we have been doing lots of walking regularly, especially with the dog, since the surgery, the first surgery. And now yesterday I started to try to jog and walk combo to get my cardio back up to where wherever I can get it to. I was hoping that I could start doing some body weight, high intensity stuff, but starting back to work this week and just trying to manage my energy, it definitely wasn't a good idea yet. So we'll shoot for that next week. But had a great day yesterday. Felt good and energy was good. Specifically with the healthy lifestyle, I have become much more focused and trying to be more disciplined with my sleep. Part of that is reducing caffeine. I've now gone to 1 cup of coffee in the morning, and I can have one in the afternoon, although because of the chemotherapy, especially the pills, trying to manage nausea, how you intake caffeine, how you intake food is going to be important. I hate feeling like I'm going to throw up. I haven't yet, thankfully, but it's probably going to get worse over time. So when it comes to nutrition, however you choose to do it, we are focusing on shifting to more of a Mediterranean diet. But I mean, that's an individual decision of where you're at. What I have been learning is that I need smaller, more frequent meals throughout the day. We start out the day with a protein smoothie that Amber makes. I need to get that into my body usually about 30 minutes before I take any pills. Um, and then when I do the smoothie, I take the heartburn medication that they give me. And then about 30 minutes after, I can stomach all the other pills and the chemo. Once that's done, there's kind of a spike in nausea. So I let that ride out. And usually a couple hours later, around 10 or 11, I can actually eat breakfast. And then it mellows out and starts to drop for nausea throughout the day as long as I'm drinking water. And and then it starts to peak again around nighttime. So in order to where I'm taking my second dose of chemo pills, the best routine we've established so far in the first couple of days is another protein shake around 1700 or 5 p.m., nausea pill, heartburn stuff, and then wait 30 minutes, take the chemo, let it ride for about an hour, and then I can get my appetite back and don't feel like I'm going to throw up and I can eat some dinner. And then it gives me enough time that I can get to my goal is about 8 o'clock at night. That's when I do a sleepy time tea and start prepping myself deliberately for bed like I'm a 5-year-old again, but it works. And then I'm ready to go to sleep about 9:30. Not doing that has taken me off the rails and made me feel even worse. So as much as I like to lay around and do other things, that discipline has paid off as long as I stick to it. The days I haven't, not felt good all day. The oxyplatin was definitely the toughest for me. The IV drug had the strongest side effects, in my opinion, on this first round. The day of drained me pretty good. I think that was a lot to do with just anxiety of not knowing how it would impact. So I'm praying that it gets better on the next round. But it definitely drained you. Cramping, dehydrated, even though I was drinking water. And I was pretty tired the first couple days. And the neuropathy and the cold sensitivity were the strongest in that first 72 to 96. And you feel, it's almost like you feel it processing through your body. So you definitely can tell why they tell you no alcohol, maintain clean eating, sleeping, all that stuff, because your kidneys and liver and everything in your body are working overtime as that goes through your blood system. So you just got to ride it out. It sucks. One of the ways that we are trying to mitigate that is trying to schedule, as weird as it sounds, those IV times every round that I'll do that. We're shooting for Thursdays. It's going to be, you're going to invest that whole day in it, but at least if it's a 72 to 96 hour window, I can kind of ride it out over that Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then feel like I'm coming back into a decent energy position come Monday. And it's just giving yourself grace and taking rest. So even with what I'm planning to do for workouts on those days last week, I walked what I could. I did what I could. And although I was disappointed at times, it's just, I had to go take a nap. Like I was in kindergarten again. But it felt great, and they just get back up again. And then for nutrition, we're still working through that. I do have a referral for a dietitian, and it's just to kind of confirm some of the research Amber and I have been doing. I think we're on the right path. But if there's anything, those individuals are a valuable resource because they've worked with obviously lots of patients, and just getting feedback and input on lessons learned from chemo patients specifically, what's worked and what hasn't, and then you obviously have to apply it to your life and then see how it goes. And then for me specifically, I think it is for everybody. The more physically engaged you can be in whatever limitations that you have for the exercise, I find it encouraging, and the endorphin release, just to be able to get out and move. Yesterday I was able just to get outside and walk with Amber around sunset with a dog. whatever you can do to keep your spirits up, feel like you're challenging your system, and keep your vitals in the right direction, it is nothing but goodness in the end. Surgical recovery, it depends on where you're at with that one. I've started doing more stretching, and my goal is I have had a goal of starting to do yoga. Now that my core feels better, I want to start getting the flexibility and mobility back. Not really focused on doing like massive reps and sets of anything. This next 2 weeks is really just to see how it feels, do what I can, and I'm not set to like a certain workout program, or although I will have a gradual program to see how I'm going. It's not to like post personal records or numbers. It's just to get myself moving, feel how it feels. That way I can have something to gauge it against, where my goal is realistic based on this round, what cannot do, and absolutely positively focus on not injuring myself and keeping myself healthy, because my body needs to focus on fighting cancer, not healing sports injuries, because my ego thought I could do what I did pre-cancer or whatever. It'll definitely be body weight initially, and then it's going to be over a month until I get my 2-month post-surgery recovery window done. And that's when it'll be that this whole next month. If I add any weight, it's going to be 10 pounds or less. And it's really just to get my body moving. And after almost 40 days of no strenuous exercise outside of walking, it's just not smart to do that. And then we're also looking specifically at immune system. We're not going over the top. I take the vitamins that I had already been taking before, and still working within the limits of the historical injuries that I've had physically, and looking at specifically adding additional vitamin C, making sure adequate vegetables, fruits, and elderberry, a couple other things that just help boost the ability for the body to resist infection, which is a critical aspect of what we're trying to accomplish here as we battle through chemo. Thankfully, we are in Hawaii, so the weather is good. It's helping mitigate anything I would feel from the natural environment of being somewhere else, where as you go transition into fall and winter, we don't have those. We just have awesome sunshine. And I was grateful last weekend, and it trust me, it wasn't like I was out at the beach forever. But I was able for the first time in over a month to get in the water and just kind of test to see how the ocean felt temperature-wise and how it might impact neuropathy. Couldn't go all the way in because I still have scars healing on my chest and my neck, but just to be able to wade and to feel the water, touch it on my hands and my feet to see how it impacted was amazing. It felt indescribable, to be honest, after almost a month. It didn't hurt, and I was just grateful to feel the sun on my face and hear the waves, which was awesome. All right, that's really the focus for physical. I used to be a dude that used to like post workout videos and workouts. I don't plan on doing that because I don't want people to be discouraged as cancer patients. So you got to work within yourself to find where you're at, and it's less about the workout, but I think a deliberate program is helpful just so you can kind of chart and hopefully journal where you're at physically, and it will give you a better gauge each round of realistically planning workouts, and hopefully you'll just find encouragement. I'll talk about the results of the workouts of how I feel, but I'm not trying to post what I'm doing. And as I go increasing cardio and other things, it is an example of how it's impacting my body in the fight. It is not meant to feel like you need to compare yourself to that or attempt to do that in any way, shape, or form. And just hopefully be encouraged that you can also do what you can do just to give yourself the best chance you can have against a very tough fight against cancer. All right, let me get this out of the way. the last thing I wanted to cover is actually something that hopefully you'll find encouraging. Still working through all the stuff that we had at our conference because there was so much great material. So I'm not going to try to dive into that because that could be a whole nother episode in itself. But today in my daily readings, I covered Psalm 27. And it talked a lot about fear. And one of the things that I was challenged with over the weekend, I didn't feel horrible, but sitting and understanding, especially at this conference, was timed appropriately for where I was at personally. The first day of chemo being Thursday, the conference was Friday and Saturday. And although I didn't feel horrible to the point of like I was going to vomit or pass out or anything, it hit me pretty hard Saturday morning when I realized that I am only on day 3 of 185 days. First round, day 3 of 8, and I still got 6 months to go. And it just, if you focus on stuff like that, I mean, it's those kind of thoughts are going to come into your head, and it's going to really start to be a pretty heavy weight and honestly depressing. So I would encourage you to just focus on each day. And I know it's hard, and it's, people cliched say one day at a time, but it really is. And those are the times that I have to recage my mind, talk to folks, and most importantly, pray about it and just give that weight to God who can handle it, because it is seemingly unbearable. It doesn't matter what your challenge is. You're not meant to carry that. But in Psalm 27, there's 2 verses that really encourage me today when it comes to, talking about fear and how you keep moving forward, which is what everybody has to do, whether you're a soldier or not, fighting a war or fighting cancer. So verse 1 is, "The Lord is my light and my salvation, so why should I be afraid? The Lord is my fortress, protecting me from danger, so why should I tremble?" And then the closing verse of that chapter really tells us what we need to do when we're afraid. "Wait patiently for the Lord, be brave and courageous. Yes, wait patiently for the Lord." And that's one of the things that I am learning to battle against and trust God and the medical providers for. This is a long process. Cancer is, from diagnosis to whatever the end result is definitely a marathon, not a sprint. And each step, you don't really know what's going to happen next. We didn't know really what my stage was for almost until we got the pathology back from surgery. We didn't know what the next steps would be, and they'll be honest with you and can't tell you until they can get pathology, run a tumor board, get your second opinions, and you got to stay within that phase of the operation, for lack of a better term, and just trust God and trust the providers. They're going to do the best they can, and they know that it's a lot of stress. So however you choose to balance that is going to impact your mental well-being. It's going to impact your body's ability to fight. And with the right spiritual and mental mindset, I think you're going to set yourself up for the best possible success to battle. And the one that can do it best is God. So as you go through challenges, whatever they may be, I think the confidence is in Christ. It's not that there's no fear present, except the fear that God is bigger than that fear. You can give it to him and continue to let him heal you, fight on your behalf, both inside your body and out. Lean on friends and family and those that are praying for you, because people interceding for you on your behalf will continue to bring your fears, your desires towards God, and that's where you need him at. That's all I got today. Have a great one. Aloha.